I'm Brandon Dearden. When I'm not cooking for the stars at CDC at Wolfgang Puck here in LA, I'm a family man that works just as hard in the gym as I do in the kitchen. Let me teach you how to meal prep like a boss.
My name is Brandon. I'm a chef here in Los Angeles for the Wolfgang Puck Group. I'm going to show you today how I meal prep and to make it super simple. What I do is go to the grocery store. I pick out the freshest ingredients. I always make sure with the meat, it's no antibiotic, no hormones, and try to go local. Whenever I cook, I always make sure I have my mise en place. This means everything is in its place. That way I can be efficient. First thing I'm going to do, preheat the oven, 500 degrees. If you're at home now, do yourself a favor, jack your oven all the way up to 500. It's nothing like the commercial ovens, so you got to make sure that the oven is hot before you start. A little oil in the chicken, a little bit of salt. I use Himalayan pink salt. This salt has the most mineral contents inside, on the outside. Pepper everywhere. Now that we're all seasoned, we're gonna go straight in the oven. I always start with what needs to cook the longest. The next thing, I'm gonna do my potatoes. These are actually really awesome. I got them from Costco, under 10 bucks. It's a good source of carbohydrates. Same thing, a little oil. You can use olive oil. I like grapeseed oil, only because I think extra virgin olive oil, when you go to cook with it, it kind of defeats the purpose. You could also make your own mix, so you can take a little olive oil, mix it with grapeseed oil. We're just gonna toss those in salt and pepper. Grab herbs de Provence. I always think these are great on potatoes, and I leave them whole. You can always cut them in half, you can quarter them. For me, the faster the better. So here we go. Roasted potatoes. These will probably take about 45 minutes. In with the chicken. Okay, next thing. Iron Chef. Remember Iron Chef when they had the pepper in? I got these beautiful peppers from the farmer's market last week, and what's cool about these is they're only 50 calories. I just try to make sure that, especially with working out, I do CrossFit as much as I can to try to stay fit. I try to make sure that I know exactly what's going in my body. If you don't have a gas range, you could literally put these in the oven at 500 degrees, but the most important thing to do is take them out, put them back in a bowl after the skin is a little blistered, let them sweat, and then you're gonna take the peel off. Next, red onions. Believe it or not, when my wife and I first met, she hated onions. But now, she loves them. And I'm telling you, it's because it's all in how you cook them. Line them all up like soldiers. All right, boom. Remember, you should have the trash going to one side, have your prepped mise en place on another side. And I know I'm kind of going fast. You can hear the peppers popping in the background. We'll do like Rachel Ray and have a little trash bowl. So here we go, peppers are cooking. Give them a nice little rotation, all right? And this is what you want. Don't be scared. This is exactly what you want. It's gonna make the house smell wonderful. Bobby Flay would be proud of us right now. If you don't have one of these, highly suggest getting one. And believe me, it will cut your prep time in half. Japanese mandolin, it's beautiful, it's 20 bucks. I sharpen it about once or twice, but then I invest in another one. Now they make a little guard for these, but I'm a trained professional. I'm gonna show you how to take them down. Basically keep the onion like this, the root side up, and then all we're gonna do is slice. They make these little knobs on the bottom. You can adjust the size, and you can just cut straight down. And then I'm also gonna show you a couple by hand, just in case you don't have one of these. You gotta be really careful with your fingers, because you wanna keep all of them. If you don't have a mandolin, do yourself a favor, invest in a good set of knives. I can't tell people enough. Don't waste your time with the little swamp meat knives, I like to call them. If you think you're doing yourself justice by getting a set of knives for 20 bucks, you're sadly mistaken. So whenever cutting an onion, I always try to tell people, think of the Addams family, think of the hand. You remember the hand in Addams family? Remember how he was always walking? I always use that reference because it kind of makes sense if you watch Addams family. I always have my middle finger out, and then I'm using that while I'm touching the knife, and I can look straight at you while I'm cutting, and nothing bad's gonna happen. Then my next favorite ingredient is garlic. Garlic is great. I love, the flavor it imparts. I don't like the pre-shucked garlic. I'm not a big fan. I mean, it's easy enough to do this by yourself, especially if you're only cooking for a couple people. Get the clove garlic, and plus it lasts a lot longer. Then what you do is just smash it, pick out the bigger ones. So then once you have that, your garlic cloves separated, just clean this off. All right, coming back to the peppers, let's give these a little rotation again. If you don't have a gas range, you can also get a torch as well. Torch works. It blisters it almost immediately. This helps get into the crevices that haven't been really black, but if you look at that, it's perfect. Boom. We're just gonna let them sweat in the mixing bowl. And one last one. Take a little plastic wrap, simply cover it up, and then we are gonna let this hang out for at least 20 minutes. It's imperative that you wrap it in plastic so it can steam out. You want the peppers to be cooked. You don't want them to be raw. Back to our garlic. There's A couple different ways I like doing the garlic. Go for local. We have a garlic ranch is what they call it, I guess. It's called Christopher Ranch here in California that supplies most of the grocery stores. That's what I use. I've gotten a chance to cook all over the United States. It's just crazy to me because, you know, coming to California, I've never seen vegetables so beautiful. I've never seen produce like the best, like at its height. Especially right now, stone fruit is in season. Whew. We actually at work, we call it bathtub fruit because you gotta be in the bathtub when you take a bite because it just dribbles down your whole body. Fresh garlic is the best. But if you want to do a little bit in advance, you can keep this in your fridge. Just grab a little oil in a saute pan. Olive oil is good for this. Start chopping away. And the key to nice garlic is make sure you have a sharp knife. Garlic in the pan. You don't want it super hot. You just want it enough to sweat the garlic out. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. Stop being so loud. Take a little Instagram break. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at BDchef for all the cool updates and behind the scenes in mi casa. Yeah. Now we're going to take out the potatoes. If you look at them, I can tell they're perfect, but basically the way to check is just stick a little knife in there. And if it's easy going through, then they're cooked. If the potato sticks to the knife and you bring it up, then it's not cooked. While that's going, my chicken is almost done, and I have my red onions here. I don't use too much sugar, only because it's the killer, but I'm not gonna lie, I love having sweets. Basically what I do is I add a little bit of cider vinegar. This is organic cider vinegar. This is really, really good product. Our garlic is finished. I'm gonna go ahead and cool it down. I like doing the garlic like this because if I would have added it to the potatoes, they would have been burned in the oven. With doing it like this, you kind of get two for the price of one. You get chopped garlic that you can use at any time, and then also you get garlic flavored oil. For me, I love using it for omelets in the morning or scrambled eggs. It changes the game. That's it. Our peppers here. I'm gonna show you a really easy way to do this. You got two options. You can either scrape it off here at the board. The easiest way to do it, I would say, is just cut one side of the pepper down, come straight down, just like that. Cut the bottom off, you cut the seeds out, right? And then flip the pepper over, and then using your knife, just slide the skin off, like literally. And again, at the restaurant, we go into detail, we make sure everything's clean, but when I'm at the house, I take the majority off. I don't waste too much time. Here we go. Here's one pepper. Same thing, use the knife, boom, boom, boom. Another way to do it is to take the pepper and literally just use your hand, or you could use a towel, and just rub the skin right off. So at this point, I'm about 60% there. What I like to do is then season black pepper. Then I'll add a little bit of the vinegar. From here, I turn the heat down just a little bit and then throw the lid on. And then you want to reduce the vinegar until it's sweet. When you first take vinegar out of a jar, it's very pungent, but if you actually reduce it down, it gets actually sweet. I like my peppers with a little texture, so I don't chop them up too fine. I go by this goal because I know what my body needs. It's always usually 6 ounces of protein, 5 ounces of vegetables, 4 ounces of carbs. For me, that's what works best for me. Trying to mess up the floor, you know, my wife will kill me, you know. It's getting hot over here, man. Shit. I'm gonna cut the potatoes in half and then we'll be in the home stretch. Sweating. It's like a workout in itself. All right, that's done. I need a landing spot for my pollo. Smoking the place out. Okay, the bird, always check the temp. Listen, don't freak out if the wings are burnt like this. Yes. So that's exactly where you want it to be. Once it hits 165, you're good. This is a perfect little bird. You want to let this rest for, you know, a good 20, 30 minutes, but as a chef, I always got to taste what I eat. So, you know, we're just gonna, those are little Scooby snacks. That's what we call them in the kitchen, little Scooby snacks. Here, hold on, snack break, snack break. Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna show you how it all comes together with bacon. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I love bacon. Bacon is a part of my life. Now that we have everything separate, the potatoes, onions, ready to go, I'll make a hash out of it now. So I can literally take my knife, turn on this. I got this one from Costco. I always go for the no nitrates added. I mean, if you can, I mean, they're not gonna kill you. It's not the end of the world. Just make sure you're using a pork product that the pork is not fed GMO feed. I mean, that's ideally. Stay away from Oscar Mayer. I used to eat it all the time when I was a kid. But same thing with like processed meats or, you know, sandwich meats. They have so much stuff in them that it's better just to go with the natural turkey breast or the natural ham leg. Bacon, here we go. Favorite thing in the whole world. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna render all the fat out of this, right? So we want the flavor, but we don't want all the fat. We're gonna render it out. Start off nice and slow. If you have to, add a little oil to get it started, but then again, we're gonna drain all of this off after. You'll see here, keep cooking. We wanna make sure you render most of that out. Remember, we want the flavor, we don't want all of that fat. The fat is great. I mean, you can save it for another use. I never say no to bacon fat. It's just that, you know, right now it's summertime, so, you know, we can't be packing all the pounds on. And then what I do is I have my bowl ready on where I wanna put it. I don't suggest doing that at home, but I'm a trained professional. Remove most of the fat, have a container. It's a little more efficient just to drain out most of the fat. And all I'm gonna do here is take my peppers, add it straight in. Oh yeah, oh man. Now we're cooking everything together. The peppers are gonna pick up all of the beautiful, what we call in the kitchen is fond off the bottom of the pot, meaning it's the caramelization of the meat. And then basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little tablespoon of the garlic. Start sweating it down. So while that's cooking, the onions are ready to go. I'm gonna taste one. It's great. For me, this is my favorite way to do onions at home because not only are they beautiful and cooked, for me, having that little pickled element makes whatever I'm eating exciting. So I add just half because I want to reserve the other half for later use. We're gonna let everything cook for just a couple minutes. Got my potatoes here. We have roasted pepper and red onion with a little garlic and bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? So we have the roasted potatoes. We have the hash over here. Now what we have to do is take care of the chicken and we'll be in there. With whole chicken, don't be intimidated. I always try to get the whole, whatever it is, you know, but being at the house, you don't have time to like prep a whole chicken. You're more than welcome to get breast and thigh and, you know, do what you want. But for me, I always try to use the whole bird. One, because I like the dark meat a lot, but the white meat is just a little bit healthier for you. Same thing with the skin. I love crispy skin. So I always go for like the skin on thighs with the bone. Chicken breast I try to stay away from, but unless I'm like really eating light, I always go for the whole chicken. All right, so basically you saw me, I just made 2 incisions right here. Basically what I do, the chicken's still a little bit hot, but and I don't know if you can kind of see it, but basically what I do is I come down at like a 45-degree angle and you'll feel where the shoulder is. And then from there, just slice down. It's a little hot, but. Okay, so one breast is off. And then as you can see, it's nice and cooked. But with the whole chicken, what I like to do, especially for the meals, I will detail the bird and then just have it shredded because it's just a lot easier to eat. You know, for me, I kind of eat like I'm in prison. My wife kind of makes fun of me. She's like, you know, you can slow down a little bit. So nobody's going to steal your food. You know, my mom says the same thing. So, because I'm always kind of in a hurry, so I like to do all of the prep in advance. All right, so with the legs, I go right around the oyster is what we call it, and then cut it off. And look, do not throw this away. There's so much more meat on this carcass. We're going to let it cool down before I start hacking away. All right, so with the legs, the 2 breasts, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna separate it. Flip it over, separate it. It's just important that you know how to navigate your way through the bird. For the breast meat, I go ahead and chop it up, and then what I do is I kind of push it down, fan them out, and then I'll go through and I'll chop it again. And again, I leave the skin on. The crispy skin is my favorite part. What I'm gonna do is just using the same pan, I'm gonna start laying the chicken out. Now we're to the bony area. All I'm gonna do is, usually I snack on these, but I already had a wing, so. With the thigh bone, it should come right out. And then I'll just set that aside. Okay, set the thigh meat aside. Same thing with the leg. There's no sense in being pretty about this, right? There's nothing, just get your hands in there. There's no, you know, whenever I reheat something and it has a bone in it, it just makes it so much harder to reheat. So for me, it's easier just to detail all the meat right now, right? So that way when I heat it up, everything's consistent. You know, when we're on the go, like the last couple weeks I've been meal prepping, I gotta admit, it's so much more efficient because 1, I can track it. 2, I'm not immediately like in hunger state looking for something to eat. You know, you always fault to whatever's most convenient. And sometimes it's not always the best. You can ultimately make good choices, but for me, this is just so much more efficient. I meal prep for my wife and I don't think I'll ever go back. We kind of make it like a thing. We make a Costco trip every week. When it comes to the carcass, now I'm back over here. Take the meat that you can literally see. If you get your fingers in there, scrape on the breastbone. You know, don't waste it at all. Whenever you roast a chicken, and I know it's kind of crazy because everything has to be hot, everything has to be cold, but you want to let your chicken sit out room temp for at least an hour, right? And especially with this oven, you know, the ovens at home, they're not as strong as like the ovens in the kitchen or in like a professional kitchen. It's important, let the bird sit out and get completely room temp. It's going to cook more even for you, and it'll cook a lot faster. All right, boom, here we go. The neck and the oysters are my favorite part of the bird. All right, so now we're going to make a meal. Let me chew on my neck real quick. All right, these potatoes, 5 whole cooked ones, is gonna give you 26 carbs, 3 grams of protein, and 120 calories. So 120 calories. For me, I've always, if I'm not measuring, I look at my fist and think a little bit over the half size of your fist. I know it sounds weird, but it's what my trainer told me a long time ago, and I've never strayed away from it. But what I'm gonna do for myself is just weigh this out so I know how much it actually weighs. This is 3 ounces of carbs. I'm gonna bump it up to 4, boom. And then this will be a meal for me. Like usually I have most of my carbs later in the day. We'll do 5 ounces of the pepper medley. You could go 6 ounces. Remember this has bacon in it too, so it's also gonna give you a little bit of protein. But 5 ounces is usually where I'm at. I notice for me, the 654, it leaves me satisfied. When I'm going in, I take a little bit of the breast. So I'll take half and half. Remember, there's about an ounce of bacon in each 5 ounces of the pepper. I'm only going 5 ounces of the protein. But again, what I do is I take dark and white meat with the skin, and boom, that's gonna be it. So we're in. Here we have it. Beautiful homemade roasted chicken. You got your little pepper succotash with bacon, peppers, and onions, and then a little bit of the marbled potatoes, which I really like. Again, this is geared to my lifestyle. You know, my wife, she'll probably eat half of this. She'll make this 2 meals. For me, I always go 654, 6 ounces of protein, 5 ounces of vegetables, and 4 ounces of carbohydrates. With this meal, you will have here 36.1 grams of protein, 27.6 grams of fat, and 37.8 grams of carbohydrates. That's a total of 550 calories. That's right in that 600 range. If you want to scale back, if you're cutting, if you're losing weight, then obviously just remove the bacon, go straight with chicken breast. Don't use any oil in the cooking. I mean, there's just so many ways you can vary whatever you're doing. I'm not a bodybuilder, so I'm not trying to like cut weight and perform in a show, but if you're a professional bodybuilder, then yeah, obviously you're gonna make some changes, but I'm just a normal guy. So for me, this is a rock star dinner. And I try to change it up every couple weeks. So, I mean, a good thing to add to this would be kale, right? If you want a little more veg. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at BDchef. Let me know in the comments of what kind of meal you would like to see. Cut! Stop sweating over here.